Good day to you over there. You are welcome to another moment of our facilitation exercise on SED412, Industries and Industrialisation. And today's discussion, we're going to discuss issues, problems, challenges on industrialization. We want to discuss general industrialization problem. We will also suggest solutions to these problems and highlight problems noticed in series of industrial plan. Remember, we have had series of industrial plan, national industrial plan for the country. What are the problems that are embedded in these industrial plans? And we should also give recommendations on previous problems noticed, recommendation on problems noticed in previous industrial plants in Nigeria, and list problems that are gathered from manufacturers and give recommendation, practical and useful recommendations towards solving these problems once and for all. Perhaps all these efforts will give the country a good opportunity to move on in the industrialization process. Of course, without industry, it will be difficult for the country to be considered as a developed nation. So these are some of the issues we are going to discuss in today's class. And according to our regular practice, get your pen, your writing materials. Let us meet in our facilitation class. Meet today. You are welcome to the facilitation platform of SED412, Industries and Industrialisation. It has been introduced that the topic for discussion today will be challenges of industrialization, and I remain your own, Amusa Oluwadamilare. What are the objectives of this session? At the end of this interaction, you should be able to discuss in general problem of industrialization in Nigeria, of course in West Africa. You should also be able to suggest solutions to the general industrialization problems. Highlight problems noticed in the previous industrial plan in Nigeria. Of course, some of the industrial plan in Nigeria failed. What were the problems noticed? So you should highlight them, and not only state the problem, you should also give recommendation on problems noticed in previous industrial plan, and also prepare a solution, recommended solutions on what to do moving on, and list problems that are gathered from manufacturers, those who are on the field, and what are the problems that are gathered from them, and equally give recommendations on these problems. Now, general industrialization problems. Let us look at some of the problems, because there are so many and so serious that we may not be able to exhaust everything, but let's just mention some of them. We have a problem of formulation and application of industrial strategies and policies. The issue of policies, they come in different ways, and they give policies and counter policies. So it's been a very big problem for the country. Inconsistency in strategies and policy application. We also have a problem of failure to utilize industrialization policies and strategies as stipulated. Setting aside of policies and strategies. These are issues that are still related to policies. We have the problem of shortage of financial materials and other resources. So this problem are so huge, are so humongous, that most banks are not always interested in funding these industries, except with huge interest margin. So we have shortage of skilled human labor. These are also a problem. Insincerity, selfishness, or greed of some leaders and followers, or lack of interest in the good and welfare of others. This has also been highlighted. We have the problem of administrative incompetency, or witness of indecisiveness of leaders. These are also some of the problems. There is this problem of market limitation, lack of full commitment by leaders, system corruption, sabotage, fraud, and others aided by indiscipline and lack of justice. We also have a problem of inadequacy of research and development, overdependence on foreign goods. We have problem of excessive levies by government, double taxation, multiple taxations. These are big issues to industrialists and manufacturers. And generally, Nigerians have low entrepreneurship knowledge. So this is also another problem, low entrepreneurship knowledge. And we have the challenge of corruption and lack of inadequacy of discipline and justice. So these are some of the areas of problem that we have that is militating against industrialization in our country. Now, what are the solutions that we have on board? There are several solutions that have been suggested, but we only be able to set some. First of all, is the love for the nation. Love others and the nation. If you don't love this country, you find it very difficult to establish an industry, to put up a small-scale industry. You will prefer to go to some other nation. So, love for your country is very key, and that is why we must love our country. Development of the country should be considered during policy formulation. Yes, we're talking about level of development of the country should be considered during policy formulation. Then the problem of inconsistency in policy, policies and counter policies, amount to discontinuity of policies. That should also be looked into, and there should be synergy among agencies of the government that deals with industries in the country. Policy should not deviate from the original forms. By the time there is implementation process, we should endeavor not to deviate from the laid down plan. So the problem of deviation could also be a problem. There should be partnership from within and outside the country. PPP is a model. Public-private partnership is a model that has been, adopted in several countries of the world, and the partnership should come from, corporate organizations, from expatriates, and those, possibly those who have succeeded in the industrialization agenda. So from within and also outside the country. There should be on-the-job training. Yes, on-the-job training that requiring people to bring experience without being trained may not be possible. We should encourage on-the-job training, and also talk about a market limitation. Problem can be solved by improving the standard of good produced. So that is the solution to. And some other ones that we have infrastructure inadequacy. So the problem can be solved if the importance of infrastructure is recognized and it relates to transaction cost, profitability, survival and growth of business in industrialization. The government and leaders of developing nations need to recognize these in the economics, industrial and national development, and consequently invest massively in industrialization. We also have the problem of administrative incompetencies. Of course, that has been mentioned. Overdependence on foreign goods can be checked by stepping the importation of goods produced abundantly at home, or promote those that have close substitutes at home to reduce overimportation, which encourages industrial laziness. So this is also one problem. We will talk about orientation of some leaders in developing nations need to be changed. There is this orientation that does not favor industrialization in the country or in Africa at large. People prefer to, promote foreign goods at the expense of, the locally produced one. So these are some of the other ones. Include, investors or journalists who always want to invest in places safe for their lives and investment. This is also talking about insecurity. So the government of nations should adequately deploy their security agents in all areas of the nation to ensure the security of lives and investments. So that one is also a problem, a solution to the problems that we're facing industrialization in the country. Government participation in business ownership and control should be discouraged because of the inefficiencies associated with government business. Of course, a lot of government managed businesses have collapsed, so and not much has been achieved in that regard. So these are some of the solutions. If implemented, would definitely resolve the problem of industrialization in Africa, in West Africa, in Nigeria. Now let's look at a class activity. Get this question. It has been established that there are problems facing industrialization in Nigeria. Enumerate 5 action plans of tackling this problem. So this is an exercise for you. Endeavor to have adequate practice of this. Now moving on. What are some of the problems that we noticed from previous industrial plans in Nigeria? You have had series, the first industrial plan, the second national industrial plan, the third national industrial plan, the fourth national industrial plan, and on and on and on. So there are problems that have not made these industrial plans successful. What are the problems? We have problems of administrative control weakness from the leadership. We have the problem of underspending. And we have problem of substantial or overdependence on oil revenue by Nigerian government. Mono economy is not in the favor of the industrial plan. Abandonment of agricultural sector. Agricultural sector is a very viable sector that can serve as a source of raw materials for local industries. Food production. All these were abandoned in the course of national industrial plan. It was also noticed that paying adequate attention to other sectors like mining, mining also was neglected, was abandoned for a very long time, and that's also a problem noticed. Imbalance of expenditure, structuring between social and economic infrastructure. More attention was given to social infrastructure at the expense of economic infrastructure. So economic infrastructure will aid industrialization plan. Resources management. This is the bane of most of our problems. So we need to ensure that the problem of resource management is eliminated. There's also a problem noticed. Corruption, stealing, sabotage, and so on was a problem identified. Devaluation of naira in favor of foreign currency. This has happened several times, and it has affected our industry badly and the national industrial plan. Inadequacy of electricity supply. No matter how beautiful the industrial plan is, if source of energy, power, is not stable, then you still have not gone anywhere. And lastly, we have inadequacy of other infrastructure apart from electricity, good road, good airports, air transport system, and good water transport system. These are some of the problems noticed in the previous industrial plan in Nigeria. Now, what are the useful recommendations, from previous industrial plan? Compliance enforcement. There must be enforcement on compliance on established industrial plan. Underspending should be eradicated. Adequate funding should be injected into the industrial plan. Economic diversification. We should not put all our eggs in one basket, abandon agriculture, abandon mining, and focus on oil production. Massive investment on agriculture. So these are also a useful recommendation. It should not be abandoned. So as mining sector should be opened up. Then we also have improvement of economic infrastructure. That should also come up and to aid any industrial plan of the country. Resources mismanagement must stop. Resources mismanagement must also stop. Punitive measure for corrupt officials. In the past, people caught for corruption, sabotage, and some other, crime-related offenses against the nation. They have not been put to justice adequately and expectedly. So that should also be taken care of. Naira must not be devalued until the country is fully industrialized. If you keep devaluing naira without adequate, production and exportation accordingly, then we have nowhere to go. Challenges of electricity must be solved once and for all. It has been very long that the problem has been there. Up to now, it's still a problem in our country. Public infrastructure such as good road, train, water, communication. Yes, public infrastructure is very key to the realization of good industrial plan. Public-private partnership. Government cannot do it alone. It must return to public-private partnership. Now, talking to the manufacturers, some problems were gathered, and some of these problems are in line with problems that have been identified. They include poor and inadequate power supply that has been mentioned, inadequacy of gas supply, and high cost of fuel. So this will translate into number 3, which is high cost of production, and the inadequacy of takeoff load. Credit facility are not really available, and where they are available, the huge interest rate is highly discouraging. Poor information system. We need to work on the communication system in the country. Poor access to land. There's provision of land for industrialists is indeed a very big problem. Weak skills. The right human skill, for some of these industries are not there, and that's why most time the manufacturer rely on skills from foreign expatriates. Inconsistency in government policies. This has affected manufacturers a lot, and that's why it is listed as part of their problem. Importation and smuggling of substandard and bad goods. The problem of importation is still over there, and it's bringing a lot of problems, competing seriously with the local production. Now let's take as second-class activity. Imagine if you are to formulate a new industrial plan for the country. Identify 6 control measures, that is recommendation you will put in place to avoid the failure of the previous plan. Yes, put your effort on this and get it answered. Before we end our class, let's have a quick wrap up on our discussion so far. Yes, we have learned to discuss general industrialization problems, and we did not only discuss them, we provided solutions to tackle the problems. We also highlighted problems that were noticed in previous industrial plans in Nigeria, and we also gave some recommendations towards tackling that problem and preventing such from happening in another industrial plan. We also list problems that are gathered from manufacturers, those who are on the field, and we also provide solutions and recommendations on problems that are gathered from the manufacturers. So this is what you have learned today, and it is my belief that you have gained a lot. Endeavor to go through the video as much as you can, and be conversant with other videos so that you get the best and the maximum gain from this course. So on that note, we meet in our next class. Bye for now.